Dramily.com, unlimited drama series.
My name is David Carter, and I'm about to tell you how I destroyed my cheating wife and her entitled family using nothing but my laptop, a credit card, and the kind of cold-blooded patience that comes from 15 years in cybersecurity. But let me start at the beginning, when I still believed my marriage was salvageable and my wife Jennifer wasn't plotting to ruin my life. It was a Tuesday morning in October when I first realized something was seriously wrong. I just finished my shower and walked into our bedroom to find Jennifer rifling through my wallet like she was searching for buried treasure. Not counting money, actually going through my credit cards, photographing them with her phone. "What are you doing?" I asked, water still dripping from my hair. She jumped like I'd caught her stealing from a church collection plate. "Oh, I was just looking for that restaurant receipt. For taxes." Jennifer Carter, my wife of 12 years, had never shown interest in our taxes, ever. She was too busy building her wellness influencer brand, which mostly consisted of posting photos of herself doing yoga poses in expensive athletic wear and selling overpriced supplements to desperate housewives. "Which receipt?" I pressed, wrapping a towel around my waist. "The one from last week, when we went to that Italian place." Her voice had that high, nervous pitch that meant she was lying through her perfectly veneered teeth. We hadn't been to an Italian restaurant in months. I made a mental note of this conversation and filed it away in the part of my brain that had kept me alive in the cybersecurity world for the past 15 years. In my business, paranoia isn't a disorder, it's a survival skill. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing other things. Jennifer would disappear for hours, claiming she was at content creation sessions or wellness workshops. She'd come home with shopping bags from stores that definitely weren't selling yoga mats or protein powder, designer handbags, expensive jewelry, clothes that cost more than most people's rent. "Business expenses," she'd say when I questioned the credit card statements. "I need to look successful to attract the right clients." The funny thing about being married to a cybersecurity expert is that I know exactly how to track digital footprints. It's literally what I do for a living, help companies figure out who's stealing their data and how they're doing it. So when Jennifer started acting suspicious, my professional instincts kicked in. I set up a separate credit card account with a $50,000 limit. Not because I trusted her with that much money, but because I wanted to see exactly what she'd do with it. I left the card in my wallet where she could easily find it, right behind my driver's license. Then I configured the account to send me real-time notifications for every transaction, complete with GPS coordinates and merchant details. It was a trap, and Jennifer walked right into it. My best friend Owen, an ex-cop who now worked private security, thought I was being paranoid. We were having beers at Murphy's Pub on a Friday night, and I was explaining my suspicions about Jennifer's behavior. "Maybe she's just going through a midlife crisis," Owen said, taking a long swig from his bottle. "You know how these influencer types are. They're all about image and status. She probably just wants to feel important." "It's more than that," I insisted. "She's hiding something big. The phone calls, the secretive trips, the way she's been going through my stuff. This isn't about feeling important. This is about money." Owen shook his head. "You tech guys are all the same. Everything's a conspiracy. Sometimes a yoga mat is just a yoga mat, David. And sometimes your wife is planning to screw you over," I replied. "Trust me on this one." I wish I'd been wrong. The breaking point came 3 weeks later. Jennifer announced she was going on a wellness retreat to London with her assistant Tessa and her influencer friend Gwen. A week-long trip to recharge her creative energy and network with international wellness brands. "How much is this going to cost?" I asked, though I already suspected I knew the answer. "Don't worry about it," she said, not meeting my eyes. "I've got it covered through my business accounts." Jennifer's business had never turned a profit. Her supplement sales barely covered the cost of her ring light and camera equipment. But I didn't argue. I just smiled and told her to have a great time. The morning after she left, I checked the balance on my Trap credit card. $49,700 gone. All of it spent in London over the course of 18 hours. Designer stores, expensive restaurants, a luxury hotel suite, first-class flights for 3 people. But here's the beautiful thing about being a cybersecurity expert. Every digital transaction leaves a trail, and I had access to all of it. Jennifer wasn't at a wellness retreat. She was on a shopping spree with her girlfriend and some guy named Eric Vaughn, who apparently owned a life coaching business in Seattle. The same Eric Vaughn who'd been liking all of Jennifer's Instagram posts for the past 6 months. The same Eric Vaughn whose credit card was paying for half their London expenses. I spent the week while Jennifer was gone doing what I do best, gathering information. Eric Vaughn, 41 years old, divorced, owned a company called Limitless Life Coaching that operated out of a rented office space in Bellevue. His website was full of stock photos and testimonials that sounded like they were written by the same person. His credentials were questionable at best, a weekend certification course, and a lot of motivational speaking buzzwords. More importantly, Eric was married. His wife Sarah worked as a nurse at Seattle Children's Hospital and had no idea her husband was funding international shopping trips for his girlfriend and her friends. When Jennifer came home from London, she was practically glowing. New clothes, new jewelry, a fresh haircut that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. She spent an hour showing me everything she'd bought, spinning elaborate stories about networking opportunities and brand partnerships that were obviously complete fiction. "You seem really happy," I said, watching her model a dress that still had the price tag attached. $800. "I am," she said, twirling in front of our bedroom mirror. "This trip was exactly what I needed. I feel like I'm finally becoming the person I was meant to be." "That's great, honey," I replied. "I'm glad you found yourself in London." What I didn't tell her was that I'd found her too. I had photos of her and Eric holding hands outside Harrods, video footage of them kissing in the lobby of their hotel, credit card records showing that they'd shared a room for 4 nights, while Tessa and Gwen stayed in a separate suite down the hall. I had everything I needed to destroy her, but I wasn't ready to play that card yet. Over the next few days, I watched Jennifer carefully. She was different, more confident, more secretive, more dismissive of our marriage. She'd disappear for hours to meet with potential sponsors, always dressed like she was going to a fashion show instead of a business meeting. She'd come home with stories that didn't add up and receipts that didn't match her explanations. The final straw came on a Thursday evening. Jennifer was hosting a live Instagram session for her followers, talking about authentic living and finding your true purpose. I was in the kitchen making dinner when I heard her talking to someone off camera. "Hold on, guys," she said to her phone. "I need to mute for a second." That's when I heard it. Jennifer and Tessa, talking in voices they thought were too quiet for the microphone to pick up. "God, I can't wait to get out of here," Jennifer was saying. "Living with David is like being married to a robot. No passion, no adventure, no excitement, just spreadsheets and security protocols." "At least Eric knows how to treat a woman," Tessa replied. "Did you see that bracelet he bought you in London? David probably would have made you return it." "David doesn't even know how to make a woman feel wanted," Jennifer said, and they both laughed. "I mean, when was the last time he surprised me with anything? When was the last time he made me feel alive?" They went on like this for several minutes, discussing my supposed inadequacies as a husband while Jennifer's followers waited for her to unmute. They talked about Eric's amazing energy and his incredible generosity. They talked about how boring our life together was and how Jennifer deserved so much better. What they didn't know was that Jennifer had never actually muted her microphone. Every word was being broadcast live to her 3,000 followers. The comments section exploded with shocked reactions and screenshots. Within an hour, the video had been screen recorded and shared across multiple social media platforms. Jennifer's phone started buzzing with notifications, but she was too caught up in her conversation with Tessa to notice. It wasn't until one of her followers called her directly that she realized what had happened. I watched from the kitchen doorway as her face went white. She frantically tried to delete the video, but it was too late. The internet had already claimed it. "David," she called out, her voice shaking. "David, I need to talk to you." But I was already walking toward the front door, my car keys in my hand. "Where are you going?" she asked. I turned back to look at her. This woman I'd loved for 12 years. This woman who'd just humiliated me in front of thousands of strangers. This woman who'd stolen $50,000 from me to fund her affair with a fake life coach. "I'm going to Owen's," I said calmly. "We need to discuss strategy." A strategy for what? I smiled, and for the first time in months, it was a genuine smile. For war, Jennifer. You just declared war on the wrong guy. Owen's apartment was exactly what you'd expect from an ex-cop who lived alone. Functional furniture, a refrigerator full of beer, and a 55-inch TV that was always tuned to either sports or true crime documentaries. When I showed up at his door that Thursday night, he took one look at my face and handed me a beer without saying a word. "So," he said after I'd filled him in on the evening's events, "turns out you weren't being paranoid after all. Not even close." I pulled out my laptop and showed him the credit card statements, the London photos, the hotel records. She's been planning this for months. The affair, the money, all of it. Owen studied the evidence with the methodical attention of someone who'd spent 20 years building cases against criminals. "This Eric guy," he said finally. "What's his story?" "Fraud, basically. His whole business is built on fake testimonials and borrowed credentials. He's been targeting wealthy, unhappy wives and convincing them that he can transform their lives. For a fee, of course. And your wife fell for it." "My wife fell for him." I took a long drink of beer. "The question is, what do I do about it?" Owen leaned back in his chair. "Legally, you've got her dead to rights. Theft, adultery, fraud. Any divorce attorney would have a field day with this evidence." "I don't want a divorce attorney," I said. "I want revenge." "David, no, listen to me." I turned the laptop screen toward him. "These people think they're smarter than me. They think they can steal my money, destroy my marriage, and humiliate me on social media without consequences. They're about to learn exactly how wrong they are." Over the next 2 hours, Owen and I planned what I can only describe as a campaign of psychological warfare. Nothing illegal, nothing violent, but definitely designed to make Jennifer and Eric's lives as miserable as they'd made mine. Step 1 was already complete. Jennifer's accidental live broadcast had destroyed her credibility with her followers. Her comment sections were filled with people calling her a cheater and a hypocrite. Several sponsors had already pulled their partnerships. Her authentic living brand was in ruins. Step 2 would target Eric directly. I spent the weekend researching Eric's business, his clients, his marketing strategies, everything. What I found was a house of cards built on lies and held together by charm. His limitless life coaching certification came from a weekend seminar that cost $300. His testimonials were written by the same person, probably Eric himself, judging by the writing style. His exclusive retreats were held at budget hotels with marked up prices. Most importantly, Eric had been running his scam for years. I found at least 6 other women who'd paid him thousands of dollars for personal transformation coaching that seemed to involve a lot of personal attention from Eric himself. 3 of them were married. All of them had maxed out credit cards and depleted savings accounts. On Monday morning, I created a detailed dossier on Eric's business practices and sent it to the Better Business Bureau, the Washington State Department of Licensing, and a local investigative journalist who specialized in consumer fraud stories. I also sent copies to the husbands of Eric's other clients, along with evidence of their wives' involvement with him. By Tuesday, Eric's phone was ringing nonstop. Angry husbands, regulatory investigators, journalists asking for comments. His website crashed under the weight of negative reviews. His office landlord received multiple complaints about suspicious business activities happening on the premises. But Eric wasn't the type to go down quietly. On Wednesday evening, I came home from work to find my car vandalized. Someone had keyed deep scratches into the paint on both sides, slashed 2 tires, and left a note under the windshield wiper: "Back off, or it gets worse." Note was written on letterhead from Limitless Life Coaching. I called Owen immediately. "This idiot just escalated things. What do you want to do about it?" "I want to finish this." The next morning, I took a personal day from work and drove to Eric's office in Bellevue. The building was one of those generic business complexes, filled with insurance agents, accountants, and apparently fake life coaches. Eric's suite was on the 3rd floor, with his name painted on the door in gold letters that were already starting to peel. I didn't knock. I just walked in. Eric Vaughn was exactly what I'd expected. Mid-40s, artificially white teeth, expensive suit that didn't quite fit right. The kind of aggressive handshake that was supposed to project confidence, but mostly projected insecurity. He was on the phone when I entered, but he hung up quickly when he saw me. "David Carter," he said, like we were old friends. "I was wondering when you'd show up." "Were you?" I sat down in the chair across from his desk, without being invited. And here I thought you were too busy vandalizing cars to think about anything else. Eric's smile faltered for just a moment. I don't know what you're talking about. I pulled out my phone and showed him a photo of the note he'd left on my windshield. Your letterhead, Eric. Not exactly criminal mastermind behavior. And that could have been written by anyone. Sure, just like anyone could have used your credit card to pay for Jennifer's London shopping spree. Just like anyone could have booked that hotel room you shared with my wife. I leaned forward in my chair. Here's the thing, Eric. I know everything. I know about the fake credentials, the married clients, the credit card fraud. I know about your wife, Sarah, and how she has no idea where you've been spending your money.
She texted you come back to bed at 3 a.m. Last Tuesday, you told me you were at your sister's.
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
Eric's face went pale. What do you want? I want you to understand something very clearly, I said, keeping my voice calm and level. You picked the wrong guy to mess with. I'm not one of your desperate housewife clients who'll throw money at you for validation. I'm a cybersecurity expert with 15 years of experience tracking down people who think they're smarter than they are. And right now, you're at the top of my list. Are you threatening me? I'm educating you. I stood up and walked around his desk, forcing him to turn in his chair to face me. See, the beautiful thing about the digital age is that everything leaves a trail. Every transaction, every communication, every lie you've told. And I have access to all of it. I pulled out a thick folder and dropped it on his desk. Bank records showing payments from 6 different married women. Hotel receipts from your personal coaching sessions. Text messages between you and Jennifer planning your London trip. Photos of you two together that I'm pretty sure your wife would find very interesting. Eric opened the folder and started flipping through the pages. With each document, his face got a little whiter. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to end whatever relationship you have with my wife. You're going to refund every penny she's paid you. And you're going to disappear from our lives completely. And if I don't? I smiled. Then I send copies of everything in that folder to your wife, your clients, the licensing board, and that journalist from Channel 7 who's been calling you all week. I also forward your financial records to the IRS, because I'm pretty sure you haven't been reporting all of your coaching income as taxable revenue. Eric stared at the folder for a long moment. When he looked up, all the fake confidence was gone. You can't prove any of this would hold up in court. I don't need it to hold up in court, I said. I just need it to hold up in the court of public opinion. And trust me, Eric, public opinion is going to destroy you a lot faster than any judge would. I headed toward the door, then turned back. Oh, and Eric, if anything else happens to my car, my house, or any of my property, I'm going to assume it was you. And my response will be proportional to the damage you cause. Do we understand each other? Eric nodded slowly. Good. It's been a pleasure doing business with you. I left Eric's office feeling better than I had in months. But my war wasn't over yet. I still had to deal with Jennifer. When I got home that evening, Jennifer was waiting for me in the living room. She'd obviously been crying, and her usual perfect makeup was smudged and uneven. We need to talk, she said. Do we? I sat down across from her, maintaining the same calm tone I'd used with Eric. What would you like to discuss? I know you went to see Eric today. Did I? David, please. I know you're angry, and you have every right to be. But we can work through this. We can fix our marriage. I studied her face, looking for any sign of genuine remorse. What I saw instead was calculation. Jennifer wasn't sorry about the affair or the stolen money. She was sorry she'd been caught. How exactly do you propose we fix our marriage? I asked. Couples therapy. A fresh start. I'll end things with Eric. I'll pay back the money, whatever you want. With what money, Jennifer? You spent $50,000 of my money on your boyfriend and your shopping sprees. Your influencer career is over. Your sponsors have dropped you. What exactly are you planning to use to pay me back? She was quiet for a moment. I'll get a job. A job? I nodded. What kind of job? You haven't worked a real job in 8 years. You have no marketable skills, no professional references, and now you have a very public reputation as a cheater and a liar. I'll figure something out. No, I said, standing up. You won't, because this conversation is over, Jennifer. Our marriage is over. Tomorrow morning, I'm filing for divorce. David, please. I'm also changing all the passwords on our joint accounts, canceling your credit cards, and having the locks changed on the house. You can stay at your sister's place until you figure out your next move. Jennifer's tears stopped abruptly. You can't kick me out of my own house. Actually, I can. The house is in my name, paid for with my money. The cars are registered to me. The bank accounts are mine. Legally, you have no claim to any of it. I'll fight you in court. With what lawyer? You don't have any money, remember? I walked toward the stairs, then stopped. Oh, and Jennifer? That video of you and Tessa talking about what a terrible husband I am? It's been viewed over 100,000 times. It's been shared on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, everywhere. You're internet famous now. Congratulations. I left her sitting in the living room and went upstairs to pack her things. By the time I came back down with her suitcases, she was gone. But I knew this wasn't over. Jennifer wasn't the type to accept defeat gracefully, and Eric, despite our conversation, wasn't going to disappear quietly either. They were going to retaliate, and when they did, I'd be ready for them. The retaliation came sooner than I expected. I woke up Saturday morning to find my front yard decorated with toilet paper, my mailbox bashed in with a baseball bat, and "Cheater" spray-painted across my garage door in bright red letters. Classy. But the real masterpiece was waiting for me when I checked my email. Someone had created fake profiles on multiple dating websites using my photos and personal information, advertising me as a recently divorced cybersecurity expert looking for discreet encounters with married women. My phone had been ringing non-stop since 5 a.m., with calls from women responding to the ads. I had to admire the psychological warfare aspect of it. Jennifer knew exactly how to hit me where it would hurt most, my professional reputation and my privacy. If word got back to my employer that I was involved in any kind of scandal, even a fake one, it could destroy my career. Unfortunately for Jennifer and Eric, they'd just escalated our conflict into my area of expertise. I spent Saturday morning documenting everything. Photos of the vandalism, screenshots of the fake dating profiles, recordings of the phone calls. Then I called Owen. "They're getting desperate," he said after I'd shown him the evidence. "This is sloppy work, easy to trace back to them." "That's the point," I replied. "They want me to know it was them. They're trying to intimidate me into backing down." "Are you going to?" I looked at the "Cheater" graffiti on my garage door and smiled. Not even close. The first step was damage control. I contacted the dating websites and had the fake profiles removed, providing evidence that they'd been created fraudulently. I filed a police report about the vandalism, making sure to mention that I'd recently received threats from Eric Vaughn. I also sent a detailed email to my supervisor at work, explaining the situation and providing documentation to prove that I was being targeted by malicious actors. The second step was escalation. I'd been holding back some of my best ammunition, waiting for Jennifer and Eric to make their next move. Now they had, and it was time to deploy the nuclear option. Remember how I mentioned that Eric was married? His wife Sarah was a pediatric nurse who worked long shifts at the hospital and had no idea what her husband was really doing with his life coaching business. She thought Eric was helping people improve their lives and build better relationships. She had no idea he was destroying marriages and stealing money from vulnerable women. I'd been monitoring Eric's communications for weeks, and what I'd found was a goldmine of incriminating evidence. Text messages with multiple women, financial records showing payments for private coaching sessions, hotel receipts from romantic getaways that Sarah definitely hadn't been invited to. On Sunday morning, I compiled everything into a comprehensive package and delivered it to Sarah personally. She was working a shift at the hospital, so I left it with the charge nurse, along with a note explaining who I was and why she needed to see the information immediately. Sarah called me that evening. "Is this real?" she asked, without introducing herself. I could hear the tears in her voice. "I'm sorry," I said. "I know this is painful, but yes, it's all real. Your husband has been running this scam for years. The London trip, he told me it was a business conference. It was a romantic vacation with my wife, funded with money he stole from me." Sarah was quiet for a long moment. "What do you want from me?" "I want you to know the truth. What you do with that information is up to you." "He's going to deny everything." "Probably, but the evidence speaks for itself." Another long pause. "Thank you for telling me. I need to think about what to do next. If you need anything, legal advice, emotional support, whatever, let me know. We're both victims here." After I hung up, I felt a mixture of satisfaction and guilt. Destroying Eric's marriage wasn't my primary goal, but it was a necessary casualty in the war he'd started. Sometimes innocent people get hurt when you're fighting monsters. The next phase of my plan required a more public approach. Jennifer's influencer career might have been damaged, but she still had followers who believed her sob story about being targeted by her vindictive ex-husband. She'd been posting regularly about her journey of self-discovery and her escape from a toxic relationship. It was time to set the record straight. I created a detailed blog post titled, "The Truth About Jennifer Carter, a Case Study in Influencer Fraud." I included screenshots of our credit card statements, photos of her London shopping spree, evidence of her affair with Eric, and documentation of the money she'd stolen from me. I also included the video of her accidental live broadcast, where she'd mocked our marriage and bragged about Eric's generosity. But the real coup de grace was the audio recording I'd made of Jennifer and Tessa planning their next move against me. I'd been recording all of our conversations since the London trip, and what I'd captured was pure gold. "We need to make David look like the bad guy," Jennifer's voice said clearly through my speakers. "If we can convince people that he was abusive or controlling, no one will believe his side of the story." "What about the money?" Tessa asked. "What about it? It's community property. I had every right to spend it. But you spent it on Eric. David doesn't need to know that. As far as anyone else knows, I spent it on legitimate business expenses." The recording went on for 20 minutes, with Jennifer and Tessa discussing various schemes to discredit me and hide the evidence of the affair. They talked about creating fake evidence of domestic abuse, claiming that I'd threatened them, even suggesting that they could plant drugs in my car and call the police. I posted the blog on Medium, shared it on Reddit, and sent links to every gossip blogger and influencer watchdog account I could find. Within hours, it was trending on multiple social media platforms. Jennifer's remaining followers turned on her immediately. The comments sections of her posts filled up with people calling her a fraud, a thief, and worse. Her Instagram account was flooded with screenshots from my blog post. Several influencer drama channels made videos about the story, dissecting every piece of evidence and speculating about what would happen next. But Jennifer wasn't finished yet. On Tuesday morning, she showed up at my office. I work for a mid-sized cybersecurity firm in downtown Seattle, and our office building has pretty tight security. Somehow, Jennifer had convinced the front desk that she was my wife and needed to see me about a family emergency. By the time I found out she was in the building, she was already in the elevator heading to my floor. I met her at the reception desk, where she was crying dramatically and telling my coworkers about how I'd abandoned her in her time of need and destroyed her reputation with lies and manipulation. "Jennifer," I said calmly, "you need to leave." "David, please," she said, grabbing my arm. "I just want to talk. I want to work things out." "We have nothing to work out. You stole $50,000 from me, cheated on me with a con artist, and then tried to frame me for domestic abuse. This conversation is over." "I never tried to frame you for anything." I pulled out my phone and played the audio recording of her and Tessa discussing their plans to plant drugs in my car. The reception area went completely silent. Jennifer's face went white. "Where did you get that?" "I recorded it," I said. "Just like I've been recording all of our conversations since you got back from London. Just like I recorded you and Eric planning your little revenge scheme. You can't record people without their permission. Actually, Washington is a two-party consent state. Which means you're right, I can't use these recordings in court. But I can use them to protect myself from false accusations. And I can certainly share them with anyone who needs to understand what kind of person you really are." My supervisor, Janet, appeared at my shoulder. "David, is everything okay?" "Everything's fine," I said. Jennifer was just leaving. "I'm not going anywhere until we settle this," Jennifer said, her voice getting louder. "Ma'am," Janet said firmly, "you need to leave the premises immediately, or I'll call security." "You don't understand," Jennifer said, turning to Janet. "He's been stalking me, harassing me, trying to destroy my life. I just want him to stop." Janet looked at me with raised eyebrows. I'd already briefed her on the situation, but seeing Jennifer in action was something else entirely. "Actually," I said, "I think everyone should understand exactly what's been happening here." I pulled up my blog post on my phone and handed it to Janet. "This is the complete story, with full documentation. Jennifer stole $50,000 from me, cheated on me, and has been trying to frame me for various crimes ever since I exposed her affair." Janet scrolled through the post, her expression getting more incredulous with each screenshot. Wow. "It's all lies," Jennifer said desperately. "He's manipulating the evidence to make me look bad." "The credit card statements are lies?" I asked. The hotel receipts are lies? The recording of you planning to plant drugs in my car is a lie? Jennifer opened her mouth to respond, then closed it again. She looked around the reception area at my coworkers, all of whom were staring at her with a mixture of shock and disgust. This isn't over, she said finally. Yes, it is, I replied. Security will escort you out now. If you come back, I'll have you arrested for trespassing. Security arrived within minutes and walked Jennifer to the elevator. As the doors closed, I heard her screaming about how she was going to make me pay for this. I turned to Janet, who was still reading my blog post. I'm sorry about this. I know it's not exactly professional to have your personal drama spilling over into the workplace. Are you kidding? Janet said. This is the most entertainment we've had in months. Plus, you documented everything perfectly. If I ever need someone to investigate fraud, I know who to call. The rest of my coworkers gathered around to hear the full story. By